For months, the world mourned. Captain America was gone, another hero lost in the fight for freedom. But that was a lie. Far beneath the world's watchful eyes, in the cold, silent dark, Steve Rogers was breathing. Broken, but alive. A fire still burned inside him, a promise of vengeance waiting to be unleashed. He had lost everything: his shield, his team, and the man he once called a brother. Up above, Tony Stark had built his new world. A world of order, patrolled by drones and governed by algorithms. It was peaceful, sterile, a gilded cage. But Steve Rogers was never meant for a cage. Every day was a grueling trial of will. He trained, pushing his body past its limits, becoming faster, stronger, sharper than ever before. He forged a new shield from scattered vibranium fragments, fusing them with stolen Stark nanotech. This wasn't just a weapon anymore. It was a symbol, a reflection of his pain, his anger, his resolve. As faint blue lines of energy pulsed across its surface for the first time, Steve looked at it, his voice a low whisper in the darkness. "You and me, we're not done yet." And that's when he was found. The silence of the remote snow-covered wasteland shattered as Iron Man's armor touched down, his thrusters hissing against the frozen ground. The air grew thick with unspoken history. Tony's voice, filtered through his helmet, cut through the quiet. "You shouldn't have come back, Steve." Steve's grip tightened on his new shield, the nanites humming under his fingers. "You shouldn't have won, Tony." For a long moment, they just stared at each other. Two men who had saved the world together, now standing on opposite sides of its future. And then, the fight began. Steve surged forward, a blur of motion, slamming his shield toward Tony's chest. But Tony had run the simulation 1,000 times. He fired a repulsor blast, the concussive force sending Steve stumbling back into the snow. Steve rolled, shield raised just in time to deflect the second blast. The impact seared his arm, but he gritted his teeth and pushed through the pain. With a powerful roar, he hurled the shield. It wasn't the familiar arc. It was unpredictable, wild. It ricocheted off a jagged rock, catching Tony by surprise and slamming into his shoulder pauldron, denting the advanced armor. Tony grunted, a flicker of annoyance in his voice. "Still throwing metal circles, huh?" Steve sprang to his feet, eyes blazing. "Still hiding behind metal," he shot back. Tony propelled himself forward, fists glowing with crimson energy. He threw a punch. Steve dodged. A second, Steve blocked it with his forearm. But the third was a feint, a perfectly executed strike that landed hard across Steve's jaw, sending him crashing to the ground. Before Tony could line up a killing shot, Steve swept his legs out, knocking Iron Man off balance. In a flash, he was up, bringing the shield down with all his might. But Tony was ready. A pulse shockwave erupted from his armor, blasting Steve several feet away. Steve's breath came in ragged gasps, but his eyes never left Tony. "You think you're protecting the world," he said, his voice raspy. "But you're just controlling it." Tony's reply was cold, devoid of emotion. "Someone has to." A new fire ignited in Steve's eyes. He lunged again, impossibly faster this time. He was a storm of focused fury. He slammed the shield against Tony's chest, sparks flying as the nanotech armor struggled to reform. 1, 2, 3 hits landed in quick succession: chest, shoulder, helmet. He spun, coiling for a final, decisive strike. But in that split second, Tony grabbed the shield mid-swing, the metal groaning in his grip. "You forgot something, Steve," Tony said, his voice laced with grim certainty. "I built this tech." The shield's blue glow flickered violently. Tony overloaded it with a raw energy surge. A brilliant flash of white light exploded between them, throwing both men back like rag dolls. Steve crashed hard, the world spinning. He coughed, the coppery taste of blood filling his mouth. His shield lay a few feet away, its surface spider-webbed with cracks but still humming faintly with power. Tony rose slowly, his armor battered and smoking but still functional. "This ends here," he declared, his voice heavy with finality. Steve spat a glob of blood onto the snow, and a weak, defiant smile touched his lips. "Not yet." He crawled to his shield, grabbing it with a trembling hand. He slammed his fist into its core, forcing the damaged systems to reboot. The shield didn't just hum, it roared to life, glowing brighter and more unstable than ever. "Round 2, Steve said, his voice a raw growl. He sprinted, a wounded animal with nothing left to lose. He ducked under Tony's frantic repulsor blasts, but this time, something was different. He angled the shield, absorbing each hit. With every impact, the unstable energy within it grew, crackling, begging to be released. Tony realized it a second too late. "What did you do?" Steve's answer was a battle cry, learned from the best. He slammed the shield point blank into Tony's arc reactor. The shockwave was catastrophic. A wave of pure energy tore across the frozen field, ripping through the snow and ice, throwing both of them apart one last time. When the smoke cleared, the silence returned. Tony's armor was dark, smoking, one repulsor shattered beyond repair. Steve's suit was torn to shreds, his shield finally broken in two. Both of them were barely standing, swaying on the edge of collapse. Through his cracked helmet, Tony coughed. "You can't win this, Steve." Steve's voice, though tired, was steady. "I don't need to win. I just need to make you remember who you were." Without waiting for an answer, Steve turned and began to walk away, limping into the swirling blizzard. He strapped the broken halves of his shield to his arm. Each step was a thunderclap in the cold, empty silence. He reached the edge of a ridge and stopped, looking back one last time through the storm. "This isn't over," he vowed. And with that, Captain America vanished. He was heading toward a hidden base, toward new armor, new weapons, and one final mission. He would return, not as the soldier the world remembered, but as the one man who would bring an end to Iron Man's reign.